Listen, I have an issue. You go out, you call yourself Steam, the band. What, you have to walk me through, what has Bill Pascali got to do with the original Steam? Because I don't understand.
Okay, I'd like to give you a little history on that. Back in 1967, 3 studio musicians that were in their late 40s recorded Na Na Hey Hey, and it was shelved. And then in 1969, they had a record deal with Mercury with 4 other songs, and Mercury insisted on a 5th song. So they dug that up from 2 years before and put it on the submission to Mercury. Paul Ecker, the producer, he did My Green Tambourine, and he had, so many other. So what ended up happening was these 3 older musicians, Mercury Records wanted to release Na Na Hey Hey, and they didn't have a chorus for it. So it went na 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 hey 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 goodbye, and they thought nobody'd ever want that. They just added it as a 5th song. So believe it or not, that's what Mercury Records chose to put out of the 5 tunes. So it was number 1. It came out in December 1969, and it was number 1 in 3 weeks on Billboard, and Cashbox too. And what happened was I was 18 years old playing a nightclub with my band, the Youngsters, and Paul Ecker came in and he saw the band. And he said, "How would you guys like to be Steam?" And we said, "Well, don't you have a band?" And he says, "No, just the 3 of us just recorded this a couple of years before, and it's going to be a hit." So Gary DiCarlo was the original vocalist on Na Na Hey Hey, and he was never in the band, never played. He was just in that recording from '67. So in 1969, he had no permissions and no rights to it at all, except for Paul Ecker, the producer, and he adopted us as Steam, and we started touring. And for 3 decades, on and off, we'd be getting Steam back together and going out. Unfortunately, everybody passed away. Gary DiCarlo passed away in 2017. Paul Ecker passed away in 2008, 2009. Tommy Frieda, Scott passed away back in the 90s. I mean, they all dropped out of,
life.
And it's a horrible and a sad thing, because they were very good friends of mine, that I toured with. So I ended up being the only one and the sole survivor, and I got the trademark to Steam, and I decided to go out and do that. Now, Na Na Hey Hey will be recorded again for 2023.
Really?
And we're in the process of doing that now, as a matter of fact. And it's a great tune. And I don't want the music to die, and I owe it to my friends that passed on to keep it alive. And I'm 70. I retired for 12 years, and I just came back in February to start again. But I was in over maybe 15 groups that had hit records in the 60s. That's why they called me the ghost of rock and roll. So
is that what they call you?
Oh yeah, since the 70s, I was called the ghost of rock and roll. I don't know if you can see that, but that's my autobiography from 13 years ago. And I was in the 1970s. I was fronting for the 1910 Fruit Gum Company. They did "Goody Goody Gumdrop, My Heart Is Doing Flip Flops," and 1, 2, 3 Red Light.
We just had a chat with Frank Jekyll just last week.
You did? Oh, that's fabulous. So what ended up happening was I was sitting in because the singer was sick, and my agent ended up showing up there backstage, and he says, "What are you doing here, Bill?" And I says, "I'm singing for the Fruit Gum Company tonight." And he said, "What are you, a ghost?" So I laughed, and I said, "Yeah, I'm the ghost of rock and roll." So they said, "You're transparent. You show up in different bands, and because you show up in these bands and support the music and the rock and roll, that's how I got the name, the ghost of rock and roll." It sounds a little silly, but when you get down, it carries the spirit of rock.
Yeah.
And that's what my life has been about.
It's a great book. I had a bit of a read of it, and it's sold really well for you, hasn't it?
Well, thank you. Yeah, it did very well, especially the first year. And, like I said, I was probably supported over 30 bands in my life that had hit records. As a kid, I was 16, 17 years old. I've worked for the Drifters, the Coasters, the Cadillacs, the Marvelettes, the Crystals. I know them all by name, and they've been friends of mine, like family for years. The Five Satins, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, the Dubs, the Cleftones. I had to write it down because I'm 70, I forget stuff. But,
Yeah,
but those are the bands I supported.
Bill, how did you get involved with all those bands in the first place?
I was a musician working bars, and in New York City, when you worked a bar on a weekend, Saturday night was show night. So even back in the 60s, they called them oldies. So they'd say, Bill, this week the Drifters are going to come in. So they'd bring the charts and my band would back them up. So from backing them up, I got to know them and to work with them over the years. And that's how that whole thing began. And when I met Randy and the Rainbows, I became a member of that band. They had a hit out called Denise in '63. That was #2 for the year, only to the Beatles #1. And that's pretty good if you got that far up the chart when the Beatles were at their hottest stage. I was a member of Lenny Coco and the Chimes. They had Once in a While, da, 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 and I'm in the Mood for Love. The Casinos, the original lead singer got very sick, and I ended up singing Kiss Me Each Morning for a Million Years. The great part about that is that was my wedding song.
That's so nice.
I said to my wife, I got the opportunity to sing with the Casinos for a few weeks on tour, and I'll be singing our wedding tune, and that felt so good. But
you were so young at the time, though, weren't you?
Yeah, I was 16 at 17 with Phony Proof in bars and playing that thing, you know. But eventually I made it to be the singer of Vanilla Fudge. I did 7 years with them, over 12 albums. I'm also on the final episode of The Sopranos. The very final one is a cliffhanger, and Tony Soprano wakes up in the morning to my keyboard solo on his radio, like the alarm, you know. And during the whole show, it's on in 4 different parts with You Keep Me Hanging On, which I sang lead to in digital stereo with the Vanilla Fudge. So 7 years with them, 12 album releases. Then I worked with the original Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, Gene Cornish, Dino Danelli, and Eddie Brigatti for 5 years as their singer, because their original singer, Felix Cavalier, he was out on his own as a solo guy, and he wouldn't come back to the band. So they wanted to play. So I enabled them to play by doing all that stuff with them. And after 5 years with them, we had one release called The Rascals Reloaded on ABC Records. It was a DVD, and I'm on that. And of course, Sting.
Bill, which was your favorite Rascals song?
The Rascals song, they had 16 #1 hits, including Good Lovin', It's a Beautiful Morning, and Groovin' on a Sunday Afternoon.
Which was your favorite? Which was your favorite?
My favorite, I think It's a Beautiful Morning. When you wake up in the morning and you hear that song, it's just invites the whole day. It's a great thing.
Hang on, your dog now. Go get.
Yeah, I have a dog.
Why was that your favorite? Hang on.
It's a Beautiful Morning.
Yep. Tell me why.
Oh, the reason is because it's a great song. It has to do with life and waking up in the morning.
Sorry,
to
Bill, the dog. Yeah. The dog.
Could you get rid of the dog, please?
Through the because it's going
to
radio.
Bill too? I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. My dog does the same. It's quite annoying, and I can't use that bit. And I wanted to make sure to use that. So just one more time, why is A Beautiful Morning your favorite song?
It's a Beautiful Morning is a great song to wake up in the morning and hear, because it's talking about a bright, shiny new day and how wonderful life is. It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll go outside for a while and just smile. And, you know, the words are just so appropriate with happiness, you know?
Yeah.
And that type of thing. And Groovin'. The song Groovin' is terrific, too, because the Young Rascals used to work six nights a week, and their only day off was on a Sunday. And on a Sunday, they would be sitting home, and Eddie Brigatti said, you know, I think I'll go outside for a walk and greeting people, and he ended up writing a song about it. So that's where Groovin' came.
Really? Is that what he was writing about?
Yes, that's how he got to write the song, because of that day off on Sunday. And if you listen to the words, it's all about that, you know?
Do you think those times were simpler days? Were they simpler times then? I mean, life seems so much more complicated now.
Sandy, we didn't think they were simple times. We thought it was, oh, somebody might drop a bomb on us, and we'll go in fallout shelters and all that stuff. But when we look back, those were the simplest and the happiest times of the world, because things, in the 80s, AIDS came about. And then you started hearing about all these chemical weapons and things that are ricin or whatever it is. And when you start to think of what the kids today are growing up into, you fear for them. You say it was too easy for us, and we didn't even realize it back then. And it's always that afterthought that you don't realize how good you got it until it's over.
Yeah,
you don't realize how young you are until you get older.
Yeah, we were certainly the lucky generation, weren't we? We didn't see very much trouble in the world at all, for sure. So you said that you've had 12 years off and now you've decided to resurrect Steam. What's prompted that? Well,
when you spend 12 years not singing a note and not playing a note, and you kind of evade music because you don't want to get sucked back into doing it. I don't know if you ever saw The Godfather 2, but Al Pacino said, I just got out of it and they bring me back into it, and that's what music is about. So after 12 years, I all of a sudden just turned it around, and I says, I feel like playing again. I'm retired. I'm not doing anything, and I love music, and I spent 12 years without it in my life, and I never did that in my entire life. I played music since I was like 5 years old.
So, so were you simply burnt out and tired? That's why you gave it away for a bit?
Well, my analogy of that was I hated the business end of music. Music is wonderful. Performing is terrific. The people are wonderful. But the business end, of which you would call, I guess, the guys in blue suits, it's horrible to work for agents and managers. But being I'm back in the business, I hope they ignore that. I'm back in.
We won't tell them. That'll stay between you.
Oh, thank you. But that's it. You get so tied up with all that stuff. I mean, you sell a CD on Amazon.com, and maybe they charge anywhere between $6 and $60 for it. And what does the entertainer, the singer, or the writer make? They make a quarter. So where does all that money go to? Yeah. It's a shame. But that's the business.
The business has certainly changed a whole lot, hasn't it, since the days when we were...
And now I don't care about fame or anything. Now I just do it because I love to play. And, and so what? We do make nice money when we do rock concerts, but I don't need it. Yeah. My life is done with that,
So are you attracting big audiences when you do go out and play?
That's amazing. It's even when I was working with the Fudge and the Rascals, you'd get these 20-year-old youthful people coming backstage and introducing themselves to the band, and you'd say something to the effect of, oh, do you know Vanilla Fudge, or do you know the Rascals? And they'd go, no, I just like classic rock, because they never heard of us. They weren't from the past. And it's great that they actually try to keep that music alive within them, even though they don't know the band's names. And it's funny, with the Vanilla Fudge, we did I Want It That Way, Backstreet Boys, in a Fudge arrangement, very heavy, psychedelic-like. And then we did Tearing Up My Heart by NSYNC, and a very heavy arrangement to it. So we're doing that in Steam, as a matter of fact. We're repeating the arrangements. But when I was backstage, these two young girls came backstage, and they go, we're so happy we saw you guys. Now we know where NSYNC got it from. And we went, wait a minute. We took it from them. And they said, really? We thought you guys took it,
Well, it's great you're merging the generations, that's for sure. So when you say that Steam are going out, are they playing all of those classic Vanilla Fudge and Rascals hits as well?
That's what it's about. It's almost like a review of my life, because I found 3 singing musicians, Franco Campanello, which is my drummer. He's right next to me here. Hi, Franco.
Hi, Franco.
Franco Campanello, and also guitar player Sam Clyett, and Jimmy Coomer on bass. And they sing and they play, and they remind me of the guys from Vanilla Fudge in reality. So we're doing Vanilla Fudge songs. We're doing their show almost within our show. And we're doing the Rascals, all these great tunes they had. And then the top of the crop is doing that Nana song and a few of the Steam songs that people weren't even aware that they did. So yeah, being I've recorded with them and I was their singer, it's like a review of life. Or as my old drummer Karma in a piece from the Fudge, he saw my video and he called me up immediately a few months back and he says, "So you're doing a Vanilla Fudge tribute?" And I said, "Excuse me, Carmine, how could it be a tribute if I was in the band?" And he goes, "Oh, I didn't think of that, you know." You know, and it is, even with Steam, even though I have the trademark of Steam and everything, and it's still doing a tribute to them all, you know, because the music.
And they deserve a tribute to them. The music is just awesome, for sure. What other Steam songs do you actually do? Because I think most of us are only aware that Steam had that one, "Na na na, hey hey, kiss 'em goodbye."
Yeah, well, that's the only song that they remember. But there's a song called "It's the Magic in You, Girl," and what's the other one's name that we would do?
I Gotta Make You Love Me.
I gotta make you love me. I made up my mind. So they had a few top 40 type things. I think I Gotta Make You Love Me turned out to be number 38 in Cashbox. So it did chart, you know, but nobody knew who Steam was in all these years since 1969. You say Steam and they go, "Well, what's that?" You know, "Well, it's a band." "Oh, okay. What kind of band?" And then you say, "Well, those are the guys that did Nana Hey Hey, Kiss 'Em Goodbye." Because I recorded that 4 times over already in my life. And they go, "Oh, I know that." Because you go to all the sports arenas and the losing team gets sung to Nana Hey Hey, Kiss 'Em Goodbye. And then Bill stands up in the arena and says, "Where's my royalties?" But I don't deserve them. I really don't. But it's how life is. Hey, when I back in the 70s in the disco era, because I know, Sandy, you're into disco and that 70s. No?
Yeah, I'm into it all.
I was in a band called Jebediah.
Right.
And on our album, we had Polydor. On our album, we had a Disney medley where it would doom, 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 like a disco beat, "Whistle while you work," da, 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 and all that stuff. And like, it never went anywhere. But, you know, we are out there touring with it and we opened for the Village People and working all that. So in 2003, 2004, I take my grandchildren to Disney World. You know, when you walk into the Magical Kingdom, have you ever heard of that in Disney World?
Yeah,
and
we've been there.
Playing music in the streets. Well, through the loudspeakers, they were playing my Dancing Disney medley. And it was me. And I'm sitting there going, God, you don't even know what's going on in your life, and they're still using this stuff. And look at this, 20, 30 years later, and you could still hear yourself in Disney.
Isn't that
you know?
awesome?
But,
that's fabulous.
So I stood up and I said, "Where's my royalties?" No.
Well, you probably should have, really. With Steam, there was such an aura of mystique around the band. That wasn't intentionally created, was it? Was that just circumstance?
No. They felt that the original 3 musicians, there was no guitar on the record. It was just keyboards and drums and a few tricks in the studio to make it sound that disco-y sound. But when they recorded it, them guys were already in their late 40s, early 50s. And they didn't want to go on the road and be a band. And they thought they'd have a better chance of selling it if they had some young guys. And I was 17, and so Tommy was, 20? And so we went out as Steam for the longest time. And people, you know, till this day on CBS FM in New York City, that's one of the biggest Cousin Brucey, if you ever heard of them, stations, they still say happy birthday to Tommy Scott. And Tommy Scott was not the original singer, but he's the one they remember because we toured all over the U.S. doing that stuff, and Europe. Okay, so that's how that moved up. But when Tommy was sick, I was singing it, and then when Tommy passed away, I ended up taking the place of the singer and doing that. So it's a Milli Vanilli world out there. But the thing is, they didn't really sing. We did. And we had to actually have the people know that this is the band, you know?
So, Bill Pascali, it's high time that you did get all the credit that's due to you for that song and for everything else that you've done in your career. And hopefully then this revival of Steam will provide just that.
Yeah. Well, I got credit. You know, when you walk out, like this weekend, we did Boca Black Box theaters. We did 2 theaters this weekend. And just when you walk out on stage and there's people in that audience, that's your payment. Okay. And you know, there's an old saying, it ain't about the money. It's actually about the money. But But truthfully, it's the feeling you get when you're on stage. Yeah, the people come up to you when you're done and they go, "Oh, it was so much fun and we had a good time," because we involved the audience in singing "Nana" and doing all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But I said, "You don't realize the joy that you gave me. You know, you could never reach that platform from the audience. It's being on that stage and taking in the whole audience, and it's just a joy to play again after 12 years. Come on." You know, it's real, and I'm still standing, and how many of my friends aren't with us today? So before I do Nana, I look up there and I say, Tom, Paul, Frank, you know, Vinny, here we go. And stand by me because I want to do a good show.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Bill, what a joy talking with you. And maybe you'll consider bringing steam to this part of the world sometime soon too.
The furthest I got to Australia was New Zealand, and I was the original singer, not the original, I was with the original Crests, J.T. Carter and the Crests, and I sang lead for them, and we toured throughout throughout New Zealand, and I was hoping to make it over to Australia too, but it just...
crossed. You're only 70, it's not too late. Plenty time ahead.
No, it's on my wish list, okay? Get word out there. Tell them, give me a call. I would love to tour out there and do these things, you know. The great people, too. My friend Craig is there, Martha, a lot of people I keep in touch with on the internet from Australia and Melbourne, in the areas that you're in. Great. Even Sydney, that's on the other side, you know. But it would be a thrill to actually see them again instead of them having to come to the States to see me, you know.
That would be good. We'd love to have you here. Bill Pascali, terrific to talk with you and to learn all about your career. Congratulations on all of it. You are kind of the ghost of rock and roll because unless we reintroduce you to the world, not too many people would know that you've appeared with so many bands over so long. So good to have you on the show and good to learn all about you, and great that Steam's back.
It's been a privilege and an honor to meet you and to be able to be on here. And who knows, maybe someday when I'm up there with my other friends, the good Lord will say, hey, why don't you go down there as the ghost of rock and roll and inspire some of these new acts?
I think you're already inspiring them.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your time, Bill. Terrific.
You're terrific. Thank you so much.
All the very best. Talk again.
And the best to you, too.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye now.